about the story, but I do remember at the end it always say this message will self-destruct. This message will self-destruct. You know, in other words, it's such a top mission that, you know, nobody needs to know. See, when you look at John chapter 9, this is really where this man was at. Listen to what the text said. He said, first of all, he was walking by. And the disciples asked him, he said, how did this man become blind? Was it his parents' fault, or was it his fault? And see, what you have to understand when you're in an impossible situation, it's always a tendency to find out whose fault it is. We look at whose fault it is. How did it get like this? And sometimes we even ask God, how did it get like this? I paid my tithes and the car still broke down. Every time I pay a bill, it seems like it lapsed more and more. I come to you, I worship you. Soon as I get out of something else happens. And the disciples didn't even ask Jesus to heal the man. He said, how did he get like this? Who was to blame? Jesus knows what Jesus said. Jesus said, first of all, it wasn't his parents. Well, see, that's good news. See, because there's stuff that your kids do that you're still blaming yourself for today that you didn't have nothing to do with. But the enemy constantly telling you it's your fault. You're not spiritual enough. You're not praying enough. You're not talking to God. Aren't you an elder? How is your kids acting up? And you talking about you love the Lord. See, the enemy always try to blame you for the impossible. He said it's not his parents' fault. It's not his fault. I come to share a word with you. It's not your fault. Yes, you prayed. And right now it doesn't look like they're going to come out of it. But it's not your fault. I know your mind saying it's your fault. I know people have told you it's your fault. But like the blind man, he says it's not the parents' fault. Neither is it the person's fault. Is it your fault that you're in what you're in? Is it really your fault? Are you really the one that blamed? But listen what he said. He said, but it's to glorify God. See, y'all should have shouted on that, because I'm going to tell you why. You know why you should have blew the roof off the building? Because it doesn't even matter how you got there. At the end of the day, it's to glorify God. See, the issue is not how you got there. The issue is it can be used to glorify God. So guess what? You can act up all you want. At the end of the day, you're going to glorify God. Stay out all night, go any club you want to, but at the end of the day, when God gets a hold of you, you're going to do exactly what God said. It's going to be to glorify God. It's going to be to glorify God. It's going to be to glorify God. I don't care what it looks like. It's going to be to glorify God. It looks like it's impossible, but it's going to be to glorify God. At the end of the day, God would get the glory. It's to glorify God. It's to glorify God. You're in this impossible situation, and all it's doing is set up to glorify God. It's all it's doing is to glorify God. Now notice it said that the man was blind, but it didn't mean he didn't have any vision. And when you look at a word blind, a lot of times we get so caught on just the physical sight. And really in this text it was talking about the physical sight. But really when you study blindness, it really homes in more on the mental state than it does the physical state. So first of all, you got to determine what condition you're in. See, because you might can see with your physical eye, but you're still blind. When you look at the Greek